I've got 6 questions as the Blue Devils go for their 6th championship after Countdown to Craziness. And let's jump right into number 1, which is the point guard battle. And I know this isn't, we didn't get a ton of new information from the scrimmage, which is a little bit disappointing because I think there was some hope that Caleb Foster was going to look better, more comfortable, better decision maker. And we didn't get that. There were several turnovers. There were almost turnovers. Now, what I will say, and the reason why I still think this is a battle, is I think Foster looked much better on the defensive end of the court than Caden Boozer, who is a little bit more steady, certainly offensively, with his decision making. So I still think there's a little bit there's a battle to be decided there, and we know Coach Shire's his main focus is on the defensive end of the court, and I think Foster has a leg up there. But I think as time goes on, if that gap shrinks between them defensively, and it's noticeable how the offense is different, is more steady with Caden Boozer on the court, I think we could see that dynamic shift as the season goes on, and it's going to be something certainly in those first 2 exhibitions that's going to be, a real point of emphasis in following this Blue Devils team. Next up for me is Patrick Gongba. Patrick Gongba, I think you could argue, had the best performance of the scrimmage. And the question I have with Patrick Gongba is, despite how good he played offensively, defensively, passing, scoring for himself, he had a really great scrimmage. Can he stay out of foul trouble? He had 2 fouls. One of them was a little bit questionable, but he had 2 fouls in the scrimmage in less than 10 minutes or 10 minutes or so. And that kind of tracks with last year, where in only 10.5 minutes per game, Gongba was at 1.7 fouls. So he's not making it through 30 minutes if that pace keeps up, or just about, right? And so that's going to be a key for Gongba, who looked incredible. So can he stay out of foul trouble? That's going to be something I'm looking for. With Isaiah Evans, who is one of the other top performers certainly in the scrimmage, and I'm going to have videos on both these guys in the next couple of days, Evans and Gongba. Can he be a reliable second option? Because his shot selection, there are going to be games where he's going to get 30 points. I'm pretty confident he's going to have a 30-point game. But I think there's also going to be games where he is 1 for 8 from 3. And in those games, can he still have an impact on winning? And that was the one thing I really liked from him in this scrimmage. He had a steal where he got in the passing lane. He had a block. I thought his defensive rotations were good. He kind of picked up where he left off of last year. And even though in some of the YouTube videos we'd seen, they had been kind of getting on Evans for, defensive mistakes, I would say, in some of the videos that we've seen on YouTube, it seemed like in the scrimmage he played really well on that side of the court. Now, offensively, there are times, and like I said, I'm going to get into this in the video, his shot selection, it's more about whether he's on balance, because he can take really difficult shots and make them. But when he's not on balance, the likelihood that they go in is far lower, like with anybody. But his ability to make those tough shots there's very few people who can do what he can, and so finding that balance, I think we got to give him time to really figure that out. Number 4 and number 5 are about Cam Boozer. And number 1 is, how good is Cam Boozer? Because his accolades, along with his brother from high school, are tremendous. One of the most winning high school players in all of high school basketball history. The question is, how much of that's going to translate? I think quite a lot, but I don't think we got a real sense of that in the scrimmage. I think that's going to come as the games, the real competition heats up, and he's more of a focal point. And with that, the 5th question is, can he be the closer for this team? Because last year, even though there were a few times it didn't necessarily work out for the Blue Devils, we knew at the end of the game the ball was going to Cooper Flagg. And I think the difference between the two guys is Cooper is much more comfortable dribbling, kind of creating, where Boozer seems to be a little bit more. He can pass from a stationary position. He can dribble a little bit, but he's not necessarily a creator off of a live dribble. So I'm curious if it's going to be, they get it to him in specific actions or places on the court, and then he can act from there is maybe how they're going to approach it, rather than, last year it was kind of give Cooper the ball and then everyone get out of the way or run a pick and roll and let's just hope for the best. So I think that's going to be a little bit of a change, but we'll have to see as the season unfolds. And lastly, number 6, all about the wings. It's all about the wings for me. Like, we're roping in 4 guys here. Hamenia, I gotta pronounce that correctly. Nick Hamenia, Dame Sarr, Darren Harris, and Sebastian Wilkins. I thought Darren Harris, of those 4, looked the best. Offensively, he just looked so much more confident and comfortable than he did last year. I thought Hamenia and Sarr, Hamenia looked better offensively, Sarr looked better defensively, but neither one gave me there wasn't a lot of consistency from their games. And then Sebastian Wilkins was a real pleasant surprise for me. He looked good in some of the YouTube videos, but I was, wait and see, still wait and see, by the way. But he knocked down a couple of threes. He had some good rotations. He did foul Darren Harris on a 3, which wasn't great. But I felt like overall he was much closer. Honestly, there wasn't much of a separation between Sarr, Hamenia, and Wilkins, which was a pleasant surprise for Wilkins, but maybe a little bit of a disappointment from Hamenia and Sarr, who I was maybe hoping would be closer to like a Khan Knippo from last year. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. So I think they're going to need to get, production from a number of guys, and I think they will. And so we're going to have to see how these wings kind of sort out in terms of minutes in the rotation, who ends up getting more minutes than others. And I think Coach Scheyer is going to use these exhibitions in the first few games of the season to kind of figure that out. But I think we're also going to figure out who Scheyer has the most confidence in pretty early on when Duke plays Texas in the first game of the season. So subscribe to the channel, like this video, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Until next time, guys, peace.